Hi, you guys. Um, it's so good to see you. Yay. Um, how have you been? Have you been good?
Very good. Very, very good. Thank you.
Okay. I missed you guys so much. Um, but I'm actually like so happy I did take that time off because there was like I don't know, a lot got done with my health and with other things. And now I can like actually concentrate on this again. And I wanted to host this class because this is not this is not somebody I ever would think would come through. So, when I watch, I like to watch like biography movies or documentary movies about people. And they could also be like fictionalized too. Like you know, there was that one about Freddie Mercury. That was a fictional movie. Like, but I still like I love learning about any kind of interesting person. And I just came across this show that was a documentary about the Queen, and she just always kind of fascinated me from afar because I am not sure if you'll like understand this. I don't think you will, Joe, quite as much as me, but because like you're like a flame torch and like you are like a doer. And um for example, like today, I had my kids in the back seat and I pulled away from the gas pump with the gas pump still stuck in my car. Um,
Oh
so
my gosh.
that's like, standard, standard operating for me. It's very ridiculous. And she has always, from my memory, like just emanated this steely but like elegantly composed steel presence, and knowing what a load she carries on her shoulders every day. And I've just always been curious about her. Like, what kind of person is able to do that? I can barely get my kids to school, like, I mean, I'm like a mess, it looks like somebody with Alzheimer's lives in my house. I've got like sticky notes everywhere, like three different calendars, stuff on my iPad, my iPhone. And I was just watching and I was just like thinking about her and just wondering about her. And that's all it takes. There is no time, and connection uh is instantaneous. Um, but all of a sudden she was there channeling with me, and I don't know why. I guess I thought like I'm so opposite her. Like, what is she gonna do with like like my flight? I was just very surprised, but I turned off the movie. I paused the movie and I paused it a couple times. She started talking, and I just wanted to read this part um out loud first. And then I was swimming today and she came in, um and she was talking about a little more too, which I didn't get to write down, but like I know what I know what she was talking about. But I was again like looking at her in awe, like, because I still feel like my adulting is like held together with like glue sticks and tape. It's like I am like a fake adult. And and Queen Elizabeth to me is like at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, right? And so this is very interesting to me, and it just, and I feel like you're really gonna get this, and it like might get you. Like it got me. It got me. I was like, oh, like the first thing that happened uh in this movie, I think it was weird. It started during the death of Princess Diana, and I've channeled with Diana several times, and she's just like all Elohim, angelic energy, and as you might guess, like you can almost like feel your heart inflating when you're speaking with her. Um, she, as a human, she Princess Diana felt the closest to me, like Mother Mary feels to me. Like when Mother Mary comes, like I just start crying. Like, and I, it's like sometimes I'm like, no, don't come, because it's like I just can't. It's like that kind of love is just like it's like, well, I don't know. You really have to be in full self-acceptance 100% to be in the presence of that kind of love. And Princess Diana really felt like reminiscent of that. And so they were going on about the death of Diana, and how disruptive it was to the royal family. And that's when the queen came in, and I was just really surprised, and I just like quickly paused the movie, and there was like a large number on the screen, and so like I just started there. I was like, hi, I was like, do you want to be, because like I have codes and numbers and like sensations and different doorbells for everybody. And I asked her, I was like, oh, did you maybe want to be like, is that number how I could associate you? And she immediately said, of course, but any number, like meaning like she did not care about having like that kind of doorbell, like she said, but she preferred to be noticed, like when beings or whatever come in. A lot of them have ways of telling me I can tell they're here. They do different stuff, or they feel different stuff. And she said, but she said she'd rather be noticed by uh by the by clear sentience through the heart. And I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. I was like, oh. And I actually, I was like, God damn it, I knew. Like not like anyone is, right? Not No one's any one thing. It's like not possible as a human being. That's like the entire deal here, is like the education that emotions, and especially conflicting emotions, gives us. And when she said that, I was like, oh my God, if she's saying this to me off the bat, and it's of that great importance, it just made me so much more fascinated by her, because she was, to all of us, seamless in the way she carried herself. Um, and I'm just going to read this part, and then just say a little bit more about what she said about this today. But she said, Um, okay. She came through and, you know, then this made me feel bad. I was like, oh God, you know, but she said she came through to explain her perceived disdain for Diana.
Hmm.
And right away, like, it's like she dumped it all in my head. I knew, but then she still like said it anyway. It was kind of strange. So like right when she said that, like boom, I knew the whole thing. But I would just started typing as she was talking. So that was interesting because I'd always intuited that she was very claircognizant, and I had always thought that she had um, kind of like I bridge sentience and non-sentience, and I've always felt that she does too. Um, because you have to have at least some um, presence of non-sentient uh beingness to lean into it as perfectly as she did, and I always knew she might have she might have a lot more to her, but that for her job, she works at McDonald's, but like for her job, I knew, she obviously has non-sentience to her and is able to lean into logic almost exclusively. And I would guess, as a woman in particular, that she probably had to from the start to even be taken seriously. And that was my guess, and then it kind of all came out, and that was right. um so she said she used a metaphor of a painted canvas, and this let's see, she said she was deeply devoted to her commitment to God. And I don't know if you know this, but the position of king or queen, and I don't know if it's true for every country, but you know, for them, that person, yes, of course it's a lineage, but whomever ends up on the throne, even though there's a lineage, it doesn't matter. Like, that person has still been divinely chosen, and that role of king or queen is literally treated like like how the president can appoint, like, you're going to be the secretary of the navy, like the monarchy, the king or queen is considered divinely appointed, period. Like, and not symbolically, like really. And as a young woman, she always took that very seriously. And regarding Diana, she compared all her people and her country to like this painted oil canvas. And that when Diana died and it brought up all that scandal again, there was a part of her that was responding to Diana's death as God's chosen keeper of the peace for her people. And when the tragedy happened with Diana and all those old ashes were, thrown up in the air again, going back in time, back to, Charles and Camilla, she said that it anything like that felt like a mar, like there was a mar on this painting, like the Mona, like she was in charge of like the Mona Lisa. And when something like that happened in her country, it was as if like somebody like bumped into the Mona Lisa and the person's elbow went through the canvas. Like it felt like these kind of tragedies and these kind of like disheartening events that cause such intense and negative and divisive emotions. um she really felt like the only way she had a chance of containing like the emotional version of a forest fire, like in order to contain that at all, she overcompensated by tamping down her own personal emotions so that she could keep. I like wrote all this down and I'm like not even reading it. But okay. But because she's just telling this to Neil again, but she's like, um, she basically started as a young woman with knocking knees and like high socks and was like, suddenly it's like, boom, okay, she's the queen. And you know how like there's not equal pay or anything of the sort for women today. Think of it back in her time. I mean, um, and her main point that she wanted me to see and understand and say to anyone who would listen was that while it seemed like she almost underreacted to Diana's death, that was her way of being capable of continuing to wear the crown. She said to me, I felt for Diana and I had so many similarities to Diana. They were both thrust into this family with a permanent spotlight and halo on it overnight and without much say and with little to no training. She never, ever hated Diana. But the ripples that Diana made through the country and her people and the sentiment, the deep sentiments that kind of bubbled up during Diana's life and death, she did feel like she had to contend with that she had to try and, smooth the waters somewhat. And she said that she came to me today in the pool to talk about habits. And I was like, whoa, what? but this is why. Um, when she was suddenly queen and had no idea what to do, um, she quickly found that, you know, playing cute or like acting like a stereotypical woman, or she found that even asking questions of a man, it's like anytime anything like that happened to her when she just got going as queen, everyone was watching to see if she could pull this off. And like she felt like points were being deducted for like every moment that she could have been perceived as female, really, or as a novice at her job, which she was. But that's the point. The royal family is really more of, she's saying this in a, because I understand this phrase, but like when you did you apply to colleges, and like did you have like, people have like reach colleges, and then maybe they'll have like, like backup colleges they apply to, like I'm pretty sure I'll get in there, but like that one. So her job as queen, and the functioning and communication between, and the customs of the royal family, they're all they're all much like that reach college of yours that you applied to, that you thought, maybe 1 in 100 chance I'll get in, but I might as well try. And she's saying that, she would never have admitted that in her life. But she did not start out the way that we imagine her today. She started out as someone who visibly seemed softer and more open minded. But she quickly became less and less willing to ask questions or ask for guidance, because it was lapped up by the men around her and interpreted as weakness. And she said she caught on to that very quickly, and she knew that dynamic could not stand if she were to be queen. It would be impossible if that was the continued dynamic of her reign. And so she's making a joke about Napoleon. Like there's like a joke about like short men with like, or like really, really short men, or like men that are not well endowed, like uh they overcompensate and like buy like $300,000 red sports car kind of thing. And it's kind of funny hearing her make a joke, because her like I think her delivery is a little, I think it's been a while since she's laughing. Because but that's what she did. She did not have anyone to mentor her that wouldn't have taken advantage of her at the same time. So she was very astute and always observant. And she realized, I have to bluff my way through this first leg of my reign. or I'll never command a room. I'll never be giving the orders. She was either going to immediately overcompensate by faking it till she made it, or she was going to fall by the wayside and never rise above being a mouthpiece for those men who were so much more formidable than she was at the start. And she was like, I am not going to be a mouthpiece queen. I am going to be the queen, whatever that means. And because she had no help, like I said, she overcompensated and basically shut down. And any feeling of softness or open-mindedness or really nurturing, she would be internally scanning, and she's calling them leaks, like as if she was a steel bucket, and like as if uh anything sentimental ever came out of her mouth, like that would be considered like a leak from the bucket. Like, nope, we cannot have that. So boom, she like cast herself into steel and faked it till she made it without understanding the consequences of all of her actions, and definitely paying some prices for that in the beginning. However, she did accomplish her number one goal, which was to have clear seniority, or like to have sovereignty over the ocean of men around her. And by doing what she did, that is exactly what happened. But that came, as she can say now, at a great cost. And I was wondering why she came to talk to me about habits in the pool. And I was like, what habits? Like, and I knew she was talking about her habit of always heeding towards severity instead of courtesy or civility. It's like she always heeded toward like guardedness and order and discipline and the seriousness of divine duty, as if her feminism could possibly threaten her ability to rule. And then we jump forward in time, and she felt for Diana, but she also knew she had to contain it and calm the people, but not add to the roaring sympathy. You know, she needed to, as tactfully as she could, and there really wasn't a tactful way to do this. She really kind of had to like curb the mourning of Diana so she could kind of get her country moving again, because it came to a near standstill. And talking about habits, she drew up all these habits for herself as a world leader when she started, because she was a fish out of water and she had no one to help her. So she developed these overcompensating habits. And she's saying, as the Buddha says, what you think becomes said, becomes action, becomes habit, becomes character. So her overcompensations that really saved her ass in terms of sovereignty, they also crusted into her character. And when she looks back at her lifetime as Queen Elizabeth, the word she used to me was compartmentalize, which usually, like, we hear that word, and like I often associate that like with an emotional habit that's not good. Like, someone can compartmentalize or justify something away and then be like this over here, but she was saying by the time like that she actually had a robust royal family, like generations down following her, by the time all those people had been born and married and come into her life, her habit of keeping everything absolutely close to the chest, by the book, no exceptions, it was so well grooved that it honestly never even crossed her mind to entertain the idea of a degree of exception for her family, for her immediate family. And all of the royal family took their lead from, travel to altruistic, all good work. I don't know. Okay, I can't pronounce that word. Um, to the way she spoke, to the way she dressed. But most of all, the royal family took her lead on what were the dynamics between the royal family. And so a lot of us can relate. My parents, I mean, even just for my parents' generation, they never spoke about anything. I still have to like trap my father into conversation when things need to be said. So that is the demeanor they all took on, or her severity and displeasure would be felt, and that person would fear for their standing within the royal family. And to her, she's saying now that becoming the ironclad icon that she became was like a 24/7 operation. And that it was so not her natural countenance. But in order to pull herself up and actually rule, she had to become this other person. And by the time she had these generations of family around her, she really considered them as just another, you know, just another like arena of her job. Am I saying that right? Like, she did not look to her blood family in the typical archetypal way that many of us do. Like, honestly, I still would prefer to have my parents' approval, you know? Like, that's such an archetypal relationship. God, there's so many layers to like parent kid. It's like, but not for her, because by that time they were just not staff, but like she didn't think of them as like family, like in the Norman Rockwell sense. It was more like they were a part of the family business. That's okay. There, I got it. And so like I had all this stuff written down, but I don't think she cares. The thing that, and I saw in the pool, and the thing she most wanted to say is, I know that you've heard this many times, you know, secrets grow in the dark. And she's saying, but not just secrets, lies grow in the dark, anger grows in the dark, pretty much anything you would want to disappear or suppress or ignore, forcibly ignore, all of that grows in the dark. And the second you pave over something by forcibly ignoring it, it is going to become more and more a part of your character. The way that she ended up so businesslike with her own family is because she took on those habits decades before. And after enough time passes, your habits have simply become a part of your essence. You really can't even see them objectively anymore. They've become like a part of your apparatus. So it wasn't like she was choosing to be cold to her family. It wasn't malicious. It was just an extension of the behavior that she had adopted a bazillion years ago to make it and survive as queen. And if she could go back in time and do one thing differently, and she doesn't know how she, even now, like she doesn't know how she could have done this, but if her one human, like as Queen Elizabeth, her one human regret not her higher self. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously that's all planned, but if she could go back and see the need for a change in her emotional perception and reception and interactions with her actual family. And her idea was, if there could have been a way somehow to maintain what people would call like my steely demeanor. She's like, I never had a problem with that being a woman. You know, that was a compliment to me, especially from my generation, ruling over men twice my age. But if she could have had enough objectivity to see that her immediate family members had different needs and that there could be a different emotional nature to those interactions that wouldn't threaten her sovereignty at all. It could have all been behind closed doors as far as she's concerned. She is, like, I have to say, I'm like in awe of this. Like, if you could feel her, she gives zero shits about what anyone thinks about her. And I'm like, God damn, like, how do you get there? You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to like logically talk myself through everything. But like, she's like, that's what I'm saying. She's like, I could have remained my steely, like, iconic self. And behind doors, I also could have had lunch with my grandson and asked him about his, like, the sports team. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, she's like, but I was so many decades in to these habitual emotional and physical habits. She literally could not see any other avenue of living. She was just simply being herself, but that wasn't herself. And she wished she could have. She's saying, this is really, she's showing me a snail, and she's saying, I wish, you know, and she said, and I know there's a way. Obviously, like, there could have been a way. I know there could have been a way. I was not able to get to that point in my development in that lifetime, but I just wish more than anything that for my family, I could de-shell. And like, she's like taking the shell off the snail. And she's saying it wouldn't have taken much, even the slightest nuance of softness, or even the slightest tolerance of something that's impromptu. You know, it really, like that. She's saying her family would have noticed even the smallest of softenings, and it really would have gone a long way in the dynamics of their family, which she is saying is more splintered today than it's ever been. And she's saying, like, as queen, this is interesting, like, because I actually did see a clip of this. The son, Harry, Prince Harry, married this actress, Megan, and they moved to the States. And they did that, you know, primarily for reasons of mental health, because they felt, I mean, she's saying that Kate Middleton and um, Charles, is his name Charles? God,
No, William,
William?
right?
Okay, thank you. I'm like, she's showing me them, and she's saying, like, they know exactly how Harry in particular feels. But just like, she's more worried for them because Kate and William, like the queen, you know, they know they're going to be, I don't know, whatever they, king and like something, king and queen, I don't know. They know they're going to be that position, you know. They both have accepted that many years ago. So many years ago, they both began forming their avatar, just like the queen did. And their personalities are actually, she's saying, a much better fit for a job requiring like such an avatar, as a presence, as an icon. She said, but she is worried for them in the same way that she saw herself just ice everybody out. And she's very, very, she didn't say this before, this is really beautiful, she's grateful so grateful to Diana, because both boys, like, they don't acknowledge this in the same way, but both of the boys really can sense Diana. Like, when Diana wants to be noticed or wants to like accentuate something, like, both boys, like, they are equally able to be like, whoa, whoa, like they are totally attuned to her presence. And she's saying, and now Diana's here too, it's like, it takes what it takes, and in our case, death, but there is an ongoing family effort to change the dynasty from within. So the queen and Diana, this is really cool. they are committed and they are working together. Um, and like the queen can say now, like, Harry went on Oprah and basically exposed, like, spoke about a lot of stuff. And basically the rule is you talk about no stuff. Do you know what I mean? And now she's like, thank God. Like, you know, Diana and the queen are like, who would have thought? Like, um, our most sensitive and kind of troubled and like kind of, I guess he would have like phases of like wanting to be a part of royal culture and then not wanting it and then wanting it. It's like, which all sounds very normal to me, but the queen and Diana actually see Harry opening up in that way as controversially as it was taken by the living royal family. It's like the first crack in the most ancient iceberg ever. And if it took Harry having to leave and come and here and move to America and continue with his I don't know what kind of work he does, but he does like charitable work, like they both believe, especially as we go on in the years, that these younger generations can find a way to command 100% sovereignty while retaining a portion of themselves privately, to share on a deeper, a more personal level. And the queen is just saying, I wonder if this was her purpose, because she just keeps saying, basically like, I couldn't get there. I didn't get there. Like like meaning like she didn't get to that place of emotional and spiritual maturity to where we're always talking about observing our actions and observing our emotions, like, so there's space so that like we can more accurately assess and adjust. And she's saying, she's like, call me busy, because she was, but she's like, and that's kind of like a joke, but she's like, but no, I did not I did not evolve to that place. And but she has no doubt that future generations will. Yeah. And that's like kind of all she wants to say for the moment. But they're both here. And again, like, the first thing she ever said to me just surprised the hell out of me. Like, I thought like having a doorbell is what I call them, like as a number would be like right up her alley. And she was like, no, I want to be like, oh, Queen Elizabeth is here through clairsentience of the heart. And I was like, what? You know? But like that's the real Queen Elizabeth, without all of these fossilized survival habits over her. And actually, now that I'm like saying all this, like it seems like not only did she have commonalities with Diana that were circumstantial, um, but I think the authentic being that was Queen Elizabeth was also similar to Diana insofar as like being a humanitarian and caring. Do you know what I mean? And that, and she's saying it's just such a shame that something as life-giving, as caring in my day and age was seen as tomfoolery, like you're nothing but a silly child, So and she doesn't want us to feel sorry for her either, like that. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like she's saying all of this, like, um, she's not trying to, do you know what I mean? It's just like she just wanted to say it. And she's wonderful. And she and Diane are like sitting here cross-legged and right next to each other, just like. So do you have any questions?
I don't think I have any questions, but when I came into it, I was curious, like, what would she have to say about the patriarchy? But I mean, that whole thing about having to, put on the show until she could
Yeah.
get the respect that she needed. I can't even imagine, because
Nope.
that was so long ago, and it's even today is still
Today it's
not.
impossible.
Yeah.
Like tw 20 years ago, I worked at the Smithsonian, and one of the heads of the Smithsonian was my boss, and she was a woman. And she was a ball breaker. Her assistant from her old position called me before she got down there and was like, look, I just want to tell you right now what you're walking into. You need to know this, expect it, and account for it. And I was like, whoa, okay. But it was true. And I was like, well, you know what? She's the only female head of the Smithsonian, and she might wear a skirt, but she has cashed in her gender long ago to get this far. Do you know what I mean? I was like, God damn. I mean, she was like, she wasn't like Queen Elizabeth because she was not that composed. She was like a screaming Queen Elizabeth. It just everything is still very lopsided, usually in favor of the man. So Queen Elizabeth, if we were to watch her like flies on the wall, basically had to like become like what you and I would be like mean. She basically had to like transform from like a knocking knees young woman to like a freaking 5-star, like bloody war general. However, it was a divine duty, and that's what kept her going. You know, she was not going to disappoint God or the divine institution of the royal family. You know, so I mean, like just having that on your shoulders, like the job of being queen and like the whole God thing. I don't know. I cannot think of a stronger person. You know what I mean? She's saying, but the problem is, I know it wasn't personal the way I was, the way I lived and spoke. And the problem is that it felt very personal to my family. And I've experienced that a lot too, where, you know, somebody can just like stab you through the heart, but you actually know it's not personal. But you know, as you're bleeding, you're like, but damn, it feels personal. I do very much understand that. So, oh my God. Okay, so Queen Elizabeth, she's got pearls on or whatever. And okay, so there's like two stools. And I'm sorry, they look like bar stools, like red leather round circle bar stools. And they're both sitting on there. They got both have their legs crossed the same direction. They're both laughing their ass off right now. Princess Diana is in a strapless gown, looking like a Barbie. And I mean that in a beautiful way. Sorry, that probably sounded dumb, but like just looking like ta. And Queen Elizabeth is like in, you know, lint free, perfect pastel suit. And she's, and hat. She's saying, and my hat. And she's twirling her pearls like this and kicking her leg up and going, but we don't need to worry about this one at all. And she's talking about you.
Oh my
And
God.
and Diana's laughing. She's like, nope, she'll be just fine. She's like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what job, doesn't matter what gender. That one's a firecracker. And they're both laughing with you. And they're like, yeah, Susan, she's the jellyfish bit of a mess, but that's okay. That's another story. I'm like, yeah, that's true. Um, but they think you're like the greatest example of a modern woman, you know? They really do. They're like, yeah, like almost like you're one of their kin, like takes no shit, you know, like not afraid, not afraid to strike out, go for what you want. They're like, we would share a bucket of wings with her at a football game. And yeah, that's and then they're saying like, we love you too, Susan. You have the best heart. But like, let yeah, I'm not like a courageous lion or anything for sure. Um, do you want to ask them anything else? Because they are very willing to talk about anything. Diana seems to think you have something you want to ask her,
I
but
don't
you,
know. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and I'll just say it. I don't know if it's a question, but I've never been able to like understand like the sexist thing against women or whatnot. Like I couldn't see it because it makes no sense to me. Like I don't understand it. I don't go for it at all. It's like complete nonsense. So I can't even see it. But at the same time, like now, I feel like maybe for the first time, I'm feeling pressure like from the outside that it could all like go up in smoke or something like that. Like it's a extremely like strong
when you say
I,
outside pressure, do you mean like a circumstance or a
I
person
mean,
or
no, I just mean like, like it seems apparent that it could all just go up in smoke, like
mm,
equal rights and
yes,
all of
yes,
that. And
yes,
it shouldn't be a question. Like
yes,
I've never understood how it could even be a question, but here we are, and that's where I don't
yeah.
know. It's not a question, but
No, it's a question. It's a big question. And I'm so with you. There are so many times throughout the week when I'm just like, okay, Diana's telling me to tell you this. I was at the drugstore the other day in this like rich neighborhood, standing in line for my medicine, and like there were like all of these like very affluent, men in their 50s, like whatever. And I was like praying for this old woman who was like walking away. She was really upset. And I understand that. Fuck, if there's anything I understand, it's that. She just wanted one pill for her husband in a wheelchair at home. It was so upsetting to me. I was like tearing up and I was like praying for her. And then she hit the ground so hard. This, you know, she did not trip. Like she fell really hard and hit like all the aisles. She's falling, like all this stuff like went everywhere. And I just like sprinted to her. And I got down and I got all her stuff. And my keys are everywhere, purse stuff is everywhere, like her glasses, like everything. And I got everything all together and I'm holding her like her forearms, and she's like sitting now, and and I had this second, and I was like, nobody's here yet. Like I realized it. I was like, I couldn't like move because I was holding her, but it occurred to me, I thought there'd be like another two pairs of arms around her by now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and the people were right there. We were all right there. Like they just watched me run. And then a man who works at the drugstore, he was so nice. He's just like a very nice guy and wasn't even on that half of the store. Somehow he ends up being the second person to get there and to help us, you know? And then a couple minutes later, one man got out of the line and walked over with his hands in his pocket. And I thought, just like you did, I was like, I do believe at the core of every human is God, and so is love. but the effect of like a human lifetime and the effect of the kaleidoscope of human emotions can really make for some fucked up behavior that makes no sense. And Diana, she's like, again, to your question, that's why we're here. The behavior that you're asking about and that you are like in negative awe of, and how you're like, oh my God, like all this really is happening. Like something even bigger could actually go down here. She's saying what you are seeing is the pendulum hitting the wall of divine masculine. Like it can't go any farther.
Well,
And we are here early, which is why we don't fit in. Thank you, Jesus, because this is our favorite topic to argue about. We came early to like at least kind of soften the pendulum hitting, and God knows, maybe even like start getting the momentum just a little going back the other direction. But that said, Diana's saying, being at that outermost wall, 100 out of 100, being there for divine masculine is equally as nonsensical and destructive as being 100% at the divine feminine. And what Earth has yet to accomplish is getting that pendulum to stay in that middle margin. Because so far, we've just gotten it to swing back and forth. And these swings, I don't know numbers or anything like that. So I'm just going to say eon, because that just sounds like a long time. But thus far, we've only ever managed over the eons to get that pendulum to go from one extreme end to the other extreme end to the, do you know what I'm saying? And like the goal, increasingly is like at some point, like real heaven on earth is a pendulum that is centered. And that would be a day and age when you and I would look around and a lot more things would literally make sense. Because I'm with you. I see so many things. I'm just like, and I always say the same thing. Like humans are so fucking weird. Like really? Like who does that? What's like what? Like you can't like even process it. You're like,
yeah, I cannot process it.
yes,
Exactly.
exactly. Thus, first waivers. We stick out, we're super psychic, we're a little too sensitive, we're too much for most people, but we are here on a mission, and it's a very important one. And Donald Trump was actually one of the keystone events. to this end. He really helped bang that pendulum up against that divine masculine wall that is far too much and mangles everything. And he did a beautiful job. Like, he really fulfilled his mission staggeringly well. And I'm saying that in a genuine manner. Like, just like you and I mean, that man probably kick-started the opposite momentum more than you and I combined. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he did his job perfectly, and probably still is, you know, while he rapes people. So you know what I mean. But oh crap. I just realized what time it is. I have to cook dinner.
Yeah, I
Um,
probably do too.
yeah. But Diana was saying, because I'm like you, sometimes I'll just be naive, really naive, or people are like, what, Susan, like, hello. And I'm like, what? Or I'll be like you and be like, see something that no one else sees. And I'm like, is this really happening? Is anyone else see? It's like, she's like, get used to it. She's like, you're gonna like, it's always gonna be either like you're the only one seeing something and you're like, oh my God, this is not happening. What's wrong with humans? Or you're gonna be the one that all the other humans are like, are you the most gullible person in the world? Like, what is like, are you like, you know? And she thinks it's really endearing. Like, she's like, we need more of this. Like, we need more peacemakers. We need more people whose core is fueled by compassion and inclusivity. She's like, I have never seen the earth more divided in every possible way. It has never been this segmented ever. in in on every level that you can imagine and in any context, and it is a matter of time, but we are here to try to kind of like, all right, enough, let's get going, let's get going over this way. So they really like you. Diana's like, it's not often you meet such a firecracker that retains a heart of gold. You know what I mean? She's like, such personalities are usually more self driven. So to have your energy and awareness and love, really, like lantern, and your humor and all of that, but having all those qualities and in alignment towards service, she's like, it's kind of rare. And she's like showing me the hope diamond. So
Well,
anyway,
that definitely makes me feel good. So,
yeah, it's really cool. I didn't know Diana was gonna come. I love Diana. She's like my Mother Mary that doesn't make me like necessarily instantly cry. She does sometimes, but yeah. So I'll post this up here. And if you have any ideas of something to teach, or any saints or masters or angels you'd want to channel, like, we can do whatever you want. And
oh,
yeah.
I got one. There
What?
was this one, and I may not say it right, Melchizedek. Melchiz
Melchizedek. Oh, hell
Mel
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
He just came into my like awareness very recently, and I've
I'm
been
so
trying
with
to
you.
learn about him, but I didn't need to know more.
Sacred geometry is a big part of it. Yes, I am so with you. I'm obsessed with him. But like he still is vague to me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, I know all this stuff about it, but I'm like, no, like let's yeah, I'm with you. I so want to do that. Why haven't I thought that? He's like, okay, everyone's just giving me a whole bunch of shit tonight. But that's fine. He's saying, what would you do without you? Okay, no, I would love to. And he is so in. He's like, I've been waiting for this. And he's got like a whiteboard up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna understand anything that you say. So can you please draw it in pictures? Because like I'm like, oh my God, he's about to like spring some Einstein like charts on me like with many dimensions, and I'm just like not even going to be able to tell you. And he's laughing. So that is our next class. I'm going to do my own meditation with to get, you know, close with him. And I'm so excited because like I've wanted to get to know him so much. And there's this crystal skull from Atlantis, and I think he's connected to it. I have thought that for several years. And its name I think is Melchior or something. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about because I think he might also be on the same family tree as like Merlin, uh, and Pythagoras. Like I am with you. And I always say that, and then I never do anything. I'm like, God, I want to know you better. And then that's our next class. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Susan.
All right. I love you. And I guess I'll see you soon.
See you soon. So good to see
Okay.
you again.
You
Bye.
too. Okay. Bye.